This KFAN podcast is sponsored by Builders and Remodelers, exclusive Twin Cities provider of Elements Windows. Get the highest quality windows at unmatchable value. Visit buildersandremodelers.com for more details.
A Friday football feast. I am Paul Charch, and not normally able to attend the Friday football feast anymore, although I did it in week one. Today, bye-week Vikings, so an opportunity with Nordo out, PA out, to keep the Friday football feast going. Lots of football talk today, as you can imagine. We'll segue a little bit into some video game talk. We'll have a mini resurrection of Video Games Weekly a little later in the show. And a little music talk with Brian Oak, longtime friend. We'll talk through a variety of different things in the music world, including our favorite Led Zeppelin songs from every album. Brett Blakemore is here to help out as well. Brett, Led Zeppelin was a very popular band from the 70s.
Yes, they were. And I know them I know them because I've just been alive and on the internet, but I mostly know them from the infamous scene in a guitar store in Wayne's World where they have to point to the sign and go, "No stairway, denied." That's how I know Led Zeppelin for the most part.
That's outstanding.
Yeah.
Yes. The other movie that Led Zeppelin is famous for is School of Rock, notoriously Led Zeppelin had refused to let their songs be used in movies. And then Jack Black, during the filming of School of Rock, filmed in front of a live audience a plea to Led Zeppelin to let them play Led Zeppelin in School of Rock, and the band relented. They got to be played, and that was a fairly big deal as well, and I think brought Led Zeppelin to perhaps a new audience as well. We'll talk music with Brian Oak. A little later in the show, 11:15, Mitch Moss from VSiN, Vegas Sports Information Network, Sports Information Network. I should really know what the S stands for. We'll talk about the astounding rise of the Circa Survivor pool. Brett, I assume you're familiar with Circa Survivor. I feel like most sports fans, even people that don't participate, know about it.
So, I mean, I assume it's similar to the Survivor pool, where you pick a team each week, but you can't repeat that team. Is that what I'm...
Yeah, this is the biggie. It's got an $18 million jackpot. This is the one place where the big, most notorious of the Survivor pools is the Circa Survivor pool. It's taken on a life of its own. It was a bloodbath last week. We'll talk to Mitch Moss about how this thing has grown and how big it's become in betting circles as well. Even though it's not quite betting, I mean, it's money and it's sports, but it's over an entire season, so it doesn't necessarily feel quite that way. So plenty of football talk coming. But before we get to that, Brett, I think we should start with the Minnesota Wild season opener, 5-0 over the Blues.
Yeah, literally could not have drawn it up any better last night. I thought it was a kind of a pedestrian second period. Didn't even matter whatsoever. They were clinical in the offense zone. They got the top line going. I think Kaprizov had 3 points, Boldy. And then they got depth scoring too, which is my big thing that I beat the drum for every year, which seems like for years now. Depth scoring is the biggest thing bringing this team down. And they got it last night. Ryan Hartman was great. That line was great. And Gus Bus was just cool as a cucumber back there. Fantastic. Nothing phased him whatsoever. And it's always nice to beat the Blues, who have had our number in the past.
They have. Binnington's been a problem in the past, but not last night. Some soft goals. I thought both of the Hartman goals were pretty soft, and I'm not taking anything away from him, but I think those are goals he does not typically give up. Gustafsson was fantastic, fresh off his 5-year, $34 million deal. And, it feels like some of the time, at least, you get a player who gets all that new money and they kind of flop early on. Maybe it's the pressure of the money. Maybe it's not the pressure of the money. Now they don't need the money, whatever the case may be. But both Gustafsson and Kaprizov with good games. Kaprizov, 3 assists, which means that based on the full value contract, Kaprizov we are now down to paying only $45 million per assist. on Kaprizov's new deal.
It's great value, really, if you think about it.
Great value. That's right. You know, a day ago at this time, it was the full 136 or whatever million for no assist. So working down that cost per assist on Kaprizov pretty dramatically already. Second period is when everything seemed to flip. The Wild could not manufacture a shot for the first half of the second period, but held their lead because Gustafsson was just great. Very sound mechanics, poised in the right place. I'm not a hockey guy, but I know great goaltending when I see it, and he looked fantastic. And if this is the Gustafsson we're going to get all season, the Wild are going to be a problem for a lot of teams, I believe. Although, are the Blues? The Blues always seem like they're a good team to me. Maybe this Blues team just isn't, and I don't know enough about Blues hockey to say. Do you have any insight here, Brett?
I mean, it is one of 82, but I did expect them to kind of take a step forward this season. How big of a step is kind of to be determined. I'll say this though, and I'll play the highlight from last night, but I feel like after that, the first period, you're up 2 goals, and then it's all one-way traffic. St. Louis just firing shots. Wild had nothing. Once they got this third goal from Eck, I think that's when the game kind of turned and they pulled away.
Point shot off the goal post. It's loose. They score! Joel Eriksson Eck tips it in. It's a power play goal.
A very short clip.
Oh, yeah, it's already done. It's already done.
It's already done. That was it.
Great.
A 1 second clip. All right.
Joe O'Donnell on the call.
There it is. All right. Wild win 5-0. So a nice start to the season there. I was watching both the Wild game and the football game last night, which ended up having a lot more storylines in it than I expected. I came in feeling like this was a pretty mundane Thursday night football game, but a number of things became talking points from last night's game. First, your Eagles, Super Bowl champs, lost decisively to a team with a third start rookie quarterback, missing both of their wide receivers, a team that had just gotten beaten by Spencer Rattler and the Saints 4 days ago, and it was a blowout loss. It wasn't very close. Giants led for most of the game. They scored first. They were the better team, even closer than the final score would suggest, I believe. Final score, by the way, was 34-17. That's probably pretty accurate to how the game went. The Eagles have now lost twice in 5 days. Salient to our listenership because the Eagles will rest 10 days and then face the Vikings. The Vikings obviously will also be a rested team. The bad news for the Vikings, Brett, not that you care, is Eagles will at that point be a healthy team. I think a contributing factor in last night's loss for the Eagles, they didn't have their star defensive tackle, Jalen Carter. He'll be back by then. They didn't have their star guard, Landon Dickerson, maybe the best guard in the league or one of the best guards in the league. He'll be back. Kobe Dean, their linebacker, will be back. That will be a fully healthy team by the time the Vikings roll around in 10 days.
Yeah, I was just going to say, if you want to be a Debbie Downer, you could say, well, they're going to play a pissed off Eagles team that are looking to bounce back. If you want to be an optimist and Duckies and Bunnies, if you want to fit in on 9 to noon, well, this is the Eagles team at their lowest point of the season, and they could be their most vulnerable. Yeah, they're getting healthier, but they're vulnerable. They just lost to Jackson Dart and Cam Scatterbo. So I think you could look at it either which way, of positive or negative.
Yeah, I believe I don't know that you can carry over your anger about a loss for 10 days. I just think eventually, a humiliating loss on national television for your Super Bowl champion Eagles. But 10 days later, are you still an angry team? Maybe. I don't know. But what I do know is that the swagger that the Eagles had all of last year, all the way into the playoffs and through the Super Bowl, man, that's gone. This Eagles team just doesn't look like the same team at all, including in intangible ways. But let me give you some tangible numbers. Here's your Philly offense. In yards per game, they're 29th out of 32 teams. The Eagles How does that happen? In first downs, they're 24th. In pace of play, they're 27th. And I guess you can, to some degree, you can say slow pace of play is who we are. I mean, it's like Steelers all the time or this way. But at the end of the day, you want to run plenty of plays on offense. Their pace of play is 27th. In the second half of games, they rank last in points per offensive drive. This is not the Philly team that we've seen. Now, they did have to turn over their coaching staff, and perhaps that's a lot of it. And, which happens a lot. When you win a Super Bowl, you're going to lose coaches. They lost Kellen Moore. Their offensive coordinator is Kevin Patullo. And maybe we're just in this period where there's a transition happening with offensive coordinator, and Kevin Patullo is trying to get up to speed. But right now, the Eagles look off. You know who else looks off? Saquon Barkley. This was your offensive player of the year last year. And here's some stats on him. Saquon Barkley, among starting running backs in the NFL, Barkley ranks 5th from last in yards per carry, 5th from last in broken tackle rate, and 7th from last in yards after contact. I mean, these are some of the most important stats that define how good a running back is. And Barkley's his average game is 55 rushing yards. Last year, 8 gains of over 40 yards. And now here's the Eagles at the 1/3 point of the season, and Saquon Barkley has one play of over 40 yards, and it was a long catch. He is not nearly the factor that he used to be. Jalen Hurts also doesn't quite look like himself either. Brett, did you see the tantalizing, scintillating 4 straight tush-push plays?
I did. Yeah, I think, well, first off, to go back to Saquon, maybe your prediction that landed you in the preposterous statement tournament was just 1 year off. Maybe you're just that much of a seer into the future. You just were 1 year away. So I think
great point.
Maybe
I wasn't wrong. I was just early.
Yes, exactly. You were ahead of the curve.
Yes.
I'm really wishing Chase Brown would get his bleep together, though, but that Joe Burrow's doing it. Anyways, neither here nor there. I did see the tush pushes, and as the resident cheesehead, I feel like it's about time after that, display of football. At what point do we apologize to Green Bay and say, no, they were right. They should have banned that. Because that's not, Micah Parsons was tweeting out that this isn't football with garbage emotes after it. It wasn't. It's rugby. It's just not a football play. And I think we owe everyone, not just Minnesotans, but everyone, we owe the Packers an apology for laughing and mocking and ridiculing them for wanting the tush push gone. Because that's what you got by turning against it. That's what you saw last night. And they still lost. But 4 plays, 4 tush pushes, gained them 4 or 5 yards, and eventually got them a touchdown. They didn't have to do anything. It's just a scrum. It's terrible.
Yep, I believe they were at roughly the 5-yard line of the Giants. They had a 3rd and 3, I believe. So they tush pushed, got most of the way there, went for it on 4th down, tush pushed, got their 1st down. Now they're at the 2-yard line, tush push to the 1, and then tush push again for the touchdown. Here's the problem. It's not illegal. It is a legal play. And it's what makes it really, really tough to ban is that most teams can't do it. It's not just replicatable to do the tush push. You have to have the combination of a great offensive line and just an absolute bull at quarterback, somebody who is extremely strong so that he can actually push the pile. And then you also need guys that are going to push behind the quarterback and push the quarterback forward. And that's the part that I think that they will end up banning specifically. The bigger issue is, and so there is a competitive advantage of just being better at it than anybody else, and you hate to take that away. But it's also terrible television entertainment. At the end of the day, we're here to be entertained. We want compelling television. 4 straight tush pushes is boring TV. Could you tush push the entire length of the field?
That's exactly what I was going to get at. Yeah.
Right. Could you pick up 2.5, 3 yards every play? Just push every play. I mean, it's bad television for an entertainment product. And Philadelphia, by running it 4 times in a row and doing what they can to give themselves a win in this game, may have erased it from the playbook for next year. And that's going to be something that it will ultimately end up costing them, because I think you're right. I don't believe the Packers will get a formal apology from anybody.
We never do.
They never do. Never. They're just, it's always so downtrodden with the Packers,
yes.
And they're always fighting upstream. It's so hard.
It's been that way since 1919. Tongue in cheek, obviously.
Yeah. I think the tush push will get banned now, and I think there's all new momentum to ban it. And even though it's really only helping a couple of teams, I do believe that's going to happen. Brett, let's work in a break. At the bottom of the hour, we will get a little more Packer talk. Dave Sinykin will join us. We'll evaluate his favorite team, your favorite team, Brett, at the coming out of the bye week. Listeners will remember, heading into the bye, the Packers with an unexpected tie against the Cowboys. So they head into the bye week with a loss and a tie that people did not expect. We'll check in on Packers-related topics with Dave and Brett at the bottom of the hour. We'll also talk a little music with Brian Oak, approximately 10 o'clock, and Circus Survivor with Mitch Moss at 11:15. Paul Charchian in for PA and Nordo. It is the Friday Football Feast.
Before we go, the Fan and BigDeck.com, or the Fan and 2 Men and a Junk Truck want to give you a shot to win bonus bucks for the National Cash Contest. Head to KFAN.com. The keyword is win. The keyword win. KFAN.com. Keyword win. Bonus bucks is presented by 2 Men and a Junk Truck. This football season, Bell Bank is giving one KFAN listener each week $1,000 to pay it forward to a charity of their choice. Just over to KFAN.com keyword contest to learn more and to enter today. KFAN.com keyword contest.
Welcome back to the Friday Football Feast. Paul Charchian with you. The charity of choice for you, Brett, would be aggrievedpackerfans.com. Would that, something like that?
Yeah.
Is that your $1,000 charity? Or is your $1,000 charity just buying your shares? You buy 3 shares of Packer stock.
My charity would be Brett's rent payment is what it would be right now. But, I'd find something good for sure.
Kevin Stefanski this week has made a lot of news because with the trading of Joe Flacco, which, by the way, good move. It's been a great career for Joe Flacco. He looks so cooked, and it's going to be bad in Cincinnati, playing behind the league's worst offensive line. Viking fans know how bad that offensive line was because we saw them in week 2. Stefanski suggesting that the team will use Bailey Zappi as their number 2 quarterback and not Shedeur Sanders. Zappi currently on the practice squad. Shedeur Sanders is on the roster. And you probably don't remember this, and I don't blame you. Bailey Zappi started one game for the Browns last year. So they know what they've got in him. He was inside the system a little bit, had this one game. He was brutal. He had 2 picks. He threw for only 170 yards. He had a 51% completion rate, which is squarely in the Anthony Richardson zone of terrible. And Zappi looked bad. Yet, Stefanski would use Bailey Zappi ahead of Shedeur Sanders, knowing that Bailey Zappi sucks. And some people are legitimately outraged about this. Shedeur Sanders, of course, on draft day, took the ignominious fall to the 5th round. There were many people that thought he could be the first player taken in the draft, fell to the 5th round. And there are people that honestly believe that Shedeur Sanders is being treated so unfairly that he should leave the team. Emmanuel Ocho tweeted that Sanders should insist on his release saying Shedeur should never play in Cleveland, which he's a fifth-round rookie. Since when do fifth-round rookies have an automatic right to any pecking order, to even make the team, or to demand from your coaching staff as a fifth-round rookie that you get the ball over anybody else? And a number of people have come to the sort of rescue of Shedeur Sanders, backing him for this. And it is a bit head-scratching. But shouldn't the bigger story be, how can Shedeur Sanders be so bad that he can't just easily be beating out Bailey Zappi? That's the weird part. I mean, the Browns don't have any wiggle room here. You know, this is a one-win Browns operation. Hey, Brett.
Yes.
Whoa. That Browns one win, who did that come against?
I don't know. I'll have to look that up.
Okay. Yeah. Well. Yeah. Go rock that.
I'll have to go through the Rolodex to figure out who it is. Yeah.
Thank you. The Browns are a one-win team. If they have any aspirations for being relevant in December, making a playoff run, they got to win now. You can't just say, all right, quarterback position being as important as it is. You can't just say, all right, we don't think Shedeur Sanders, if you think Shedeur Sanders is your best passer and your best quarterback, you can't not start him at 1-4. You don't have the luxury of sitting around and going, we'll take another loss. We need to send a message to Shedeur Sanders. It feels like Kevin Stefanski is still trying to break Shedeur Sanders like you would a Colt. They gotta beat him down. They gotta take what's his brand? I think the Shedeur Sanders brand is called Too Legendary. That's right. Like, you gotta beat the brand out of Shedeur Sanders. But the Browns aren't in a position to keep taking losses. Kevin Stefanski needs to protect his job, even though he's won Coach of the Year twice. At the end of the day, the NFL is almost always based on merit and who gets to play. How can Shedeur Sanders not be better than Bailey Zappi right now? How is it that somehow they believe Shedeur Sanders gives them less of a chance to win than Bailey Zappi this coming week? I'm trying to remember the Browns have got this week, and I should know it off the top of my head. Browns play they've got the Steelers interdivisional matchup. The Browns are a weird team in that their defense is so good they can win any game. You just keep it close and then say something weird happens. Perhaps a blocked field goal, and then you'll win. Steelers haven't looked great. They handled the Vikings with relative ease. The Vikings were in a tough spot in that game, and maybe that's part of why injuries for the Vikings certainly played a factor, but Steelers don't seem like a much better team. This is a Browns organization still struggling at the quarterback position, really, since they made the decision to let Baker Mayfield leave. Now, a little bit like Shedeur Sanders, Baker Mayfield might have needed to hit the reset button, which appears to be what they're trying to do with Shedeur Sanders. Mayfield needed to have his ego checked. He needed to hit rock bottom in Carolina and then briefly with the Rams, and maybe that's been better for them. But since Baker Mayfield left, the Browns haven't been able to get anything resembling stability at the quarterback position. Here's who they've started in the 2.25 seasons since Baker Mayfield left. Jacoby Brissett, P.J. Walker, Dorian Thompson-Robinson, Jeff Driscoll, Joe Flacco, Deshaun Watson, Jameis Winston, and Thompson-Robinson again, Bailey Zappi, who I just mentioned, Joe Flacco again, and then as of last week, Dylan Gabriel. All those quarterbacks. Just in 2.25 seasons for Cleveland. And as you can imagine, the wins have not been good, just 22 wins against 34 losses. Joe Flacco helped spark that team into a playoff run a couple of years ago, but that was on what's now we look back and feel like that was the last good moments of Joe Flacco's career. And, of course, the Browns still reeling from the unthinkable decision to trade for Deshaun Watson. They gave up 3 first-round picks, a third-round pick, 2 fourth-round picks, and made him the highest-paid player in NFL history with a $250 million deal, fully guaranteed. Deshaun Watson, it's the modern-day Herschel Walker trade, but probably worse when you look at it all in totality. So there's always some drama with the Cleveland quarterback situation, and potentially some here, and it's not even with the starter, Dylan Gabriel. It's with the backup. We think Kevin Stefanski is a very coach, 2-time coach of the year. This has got to be one of the trying moments of his coaching staff, his coaching career. All right, let's take a break. Brett, when we come back, let's dial in Dave Sinykin. Let's get a check in with the hated rivals, the Green Bay Packers. Let's talk about the unexpected loss and unexpected tie. Is that who this team really is or not? Get some thoughts on Micah Parsons, where we are at this point through the 1/4 stage. Just 2 tackles for Micah Parsons, which is peculiar, and whether or not Jordan Love has has lived up to the expectations that people had coming into this season. So Dave Sinykin, Brett Blakemore, when we return to the Fan.
Wild fans, this one's for you all day today. You can send us your all-time dream Wild lineup using the TalkBack feature in the iHeartRadio app. Little microphone icon when you're listening to the Fan. Legends, current stars, we want to hear it all. Enter now, and you could win tickets to tomorrow's home opener against the Blue Jackets. Full details, KFAN.com, keyword contest.
Welcome back, Friday Football Feast. Paul Charch with you. It's an old school edition of Friday Football Feast. Great to be back with you. PA is on vacation bye week. Nordo on vacation bye week as well. The presumption is PA is seeing Coley. I assume that's the case. Traditionally, what he enjoys doing on the bye week. A good opportunity for that. And some well-deserved time off after the international travel. Joining us now, the host of In the Zone, Packer Preview, Dave Sinykin. Hi, Dave.
Charch, how we doing?
Very good. Nice to talk to you again. It's been a little while, so it's nice to have you back. And I'm sure you'll be back on the feast whenever the Vikings play the Packers, but that's not imminent, I don't think.
No, it's I think it's the Sunday before Thanksgiving week, so we got a month and change till we get back at it.
Let's check in on your squad up through the early bye week. Let's start here. I'm not bringing this up just to be mean to you and Brett, but let's talk about the loss to Cleveland and the tie to the Cowboys that were not on the roadmap. Do you believe that's just sort of freak occurrence, blocked field goal, or do you feel like it's a sign of something more troubling for the Packers?
Charch, this is going to shock you. I know. I'm leaning on the freak occurrence. You're talking about a couple blocked field goals from being 4-0. Obviously, those count, and that's a difference. But no, I have no major concerns about this team that, after a 2-0 start, was suddenly anointed as the favorites in the NFC, and after a couple games that didn't look so good, now they're back in the middle of the pack. But I still think they've got the talent and everything they need to compete for a Super Bowl. They got to figure out special teams more than anything else. It's not just getting a couple field goals blocked. It's having returners that have never done it before and putting their offense in really tough spots and giving up big returns. Rich Bisaccia still has a job today. Last time I checked, he would not. If I was president of the Packers, I would shake things up. But no, from a basic 53-man roster, I really like this team. I'm very confident in where they're going to be when things get spicy later in the season. I just think they got to clean up some special team stuff.
That's always the case. It's been the case. Isn't Rich? It's Bisaccia. Is that how you say his last name? Bisaccia.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Isn't he the highest paid special teams coach in the league?
I know he was when he signed his new deal a couple of years ago. I haven't heard anybody passing him up. He's former Raiders interim coach. Players will run through a wall for him. They love him. He loves them. Kumbaya. but it's been a constant problem every year he's been in Green Bay. It's never been a strong unit. And now when you have a team that you feel like is ready to compete in a pretty wide open NFC, last year and the year before it was all about, you don't have a kicker. Like, you're going to lose close games. There's no kicker. Well, now they found a kicker and they have a good punter. But outside of that, it's a disaster, and they got to figure things out. And he's going to be there. He's got the respect of the coaching staff, and he ain't going anywhere. But, he's not doing this team any favors right now.
Yeah, I don't see an in-season change happening unless things get somehow even worse or this continues. No. You and I were both optimistic that Jordan Love was going to see quite a bit of development this year because last year was something of a lost season on the groin injury that nagged him the entire year, and felt like mechanically he was going to be in a better spot to throw better, more receivers, added Matthew Golden, that this was going to be something of a breakout year for Jordan Love. What's your feeling on Jordan Love's development through the first quarter of the season?
He's the last person I'm worried about on the Packers roster right now. If you watch him play, he passes the eye test. If you look at his stats, he's among the league leaders in passer rating, touchdowns to interceptions, completion percentage, and he's playing right now, Charch, through the first 4 weeks, kind of like the Vikings, missing 2 key offensive linemen, if not more, week in and week out. He's down 2 of his top 4 receivers. This offense has not yet fully clicked after looking really good the first 2 weeks. Obviously, the last 2 weeks without those linemen, it hasn't been great. But no, Jordan Love is not the problem. He looks like he has taken a step. I expect him to continue to play well as he starts getting pieces back. The line should be intact, we think. The left tackle, Rasheed Walker, is now iffy, but the 2 guys that have been out, Zach Tom and Aaron Banks, are expected to be back on Sunday. Getting those guys healthy, working Christian Watson back into the next couple of weeks are only going to help him. No, his game is great. Yes, he's had a couple mistakes. He's thrown his first pick in the last 10 regular season games against Cleveland in a bad spot. He lost a ball against Dallas at the end of the first half in a tough spot. Outside of a couple of mistakes, he's the least of the Packers' problems. He looks every bit, to me, like a $50 million a year quarterback.
Well, and he needs to, right? Let's go to Matthew Golden. It's been a slower start than I had hoped. I had figured that he would really walk into his starting role and he'd be on the field as really a starter week 1. But it's been a gradual but increasing role for Matthew Golden. Your first round pick needed playmaker in the offense. I don't feel like he's really splashed yet, but obviously it's still very early. What are your thoughts about Matthew Golden based on what you've seen so far?
Yeah, I agree. He hasn't splashed yet. They've missed on a couple of big plays that were right there against Dallas, and I think those are coming. The opportunities are going to be there with the depleted wide receiver ranks right now with those 2 guys, Reed and Watson, still out. I think it's been slow to go, but the speed is there, the hands are there, the route running's there. They're still trying to figure out the best way to use him. I know from a fantasy perspective, he hasn't been a guy anybody can rely on. I don't know that he will be all season. I think he'll have a number of games where he has the kind of stats you're looking for. But from everything I've read, he brings it every day in practice. They know it's just a matter of time. Some rookies jump right off the page and give you the stats right off the bat. Other guys, it takes a little time. I'd be surprised if he doesn't have a good game against Cincinnati in this defense. I think Green Bay's offense is ready to lay the hammer down after not winning a game in a month, not being at Lambeau in a month. I think the Bengals are the cure for what ails you, and I'm excited to watch Golden as the weeks go on. They're looking at him more, they're targeting him more, and he is getting open. It's just a matter of those 2 guys connecting, and I think those days are coming soon.
Hey, Davey, you mentioned his name a couple of times, Christian Watson. He said a couple weeks ago, if it was the NFC Championship game, I'd be playing, or I'd be pushing to play. But you've opened this 21-day window. We know that the training staff has been conservative, and especially after Zach Tom fiasco that happened a couple weeks ago. How do you see them bringing him back? Would he play even as soon as this week in limited fashion, or do you think it's a long way off still?
Something in between. It's 9 months since the ACL. That's not a lot of time, obviously, especially for a skill position player to come back from an ACL, but it sounds like he's been ahead of schedule from the start. Did return to practice this week. As you said, they opened up that 21-day window. From what I've read, I think they're going to probably hold him out at least the next 2 weeks. Maybe he's back for the Sunday night game in Pittsburgh. I think more likely it's the following home game against Carolina. Then you ramp up and get ready for the Eagles the following Monday night. So I think, early November, I think a couple, 2-3 more weeks. Maybe he's back for Pittsburgh. But my money says Carolina, early November. No sense in really rushing it. You want him hopefully on the field in December and January and feeling good. So, yeah, I'd say a few more weeks. But the exciting thing is to have that speed, and that speed is back, and that remains to be seen. It might be another season before he's got the speed. But if he's got that speed and they can put he and Golden on the field at the same time, that's what has this coaching staff excited about what this offense can do, because you got to devote resources to speed like that. When you got two guys like that, it can really put some pressure and some hurt on a defense. So I'm willing to wait. I'm hoping we get a full 100% Christian Watson by December, and then we'll see what this offense can do.
That's the familiar voice of Dave Sinykin in the Zone Packer preview. Tucker Kraft has turned into an elite pass-catching tight end, and considering his age, I was thinking about this as I was prepping our conversation. I don't know how many tight ends in the league I would trade Tucker Kraft for. There aren't many. I mean, it might be like Brock Bowers, Tyler Warren, maybe. I don't know. I mean, Tucker Kraft is emerging as one of the great pass-catching tight ends in this league.
Yeah, it sure seems like it. And, yeah, you're right. I mean, Warren, Bowers, maybe McBride, and then after that, I don't know. I think he's just tapping his potential, really, for what he can be. And it's not just being a really good pass catcher. They really trust him in the blocking game, too. He's a George Kittle type guy. And I remember a couple off seasons ago, he was training with George Kittle in the summer and really watching how he trains and trying to watch how he improves his craft, if you will. And clearly, it helped. I mean, it's rubbed off on him seeing George Kittle go about his business, because he kind of feels like a George Kittle type player. He's one of those teammates you love, because he's just going to give you everything every single play, and he's so good after the catch, and that's what you love in a tight end. It's not just getting open, making a catch, but he punishes people after he gets the ball, and it's really easy to root for a guy like that. So, Green Bay it's been kind of known for Packer fans that, third round picks are like where rookies go to die when they're drafted by Green Bay. The track record in the third round is abysmal over the last 7 or 8 years for whatever reason. Tucker Kraft has broken that mold. He looks like the slam dunk, home run, third round pick. And, Luke Musgrave, as you know, was drafted a round ahead of him. And the thought was that he was the guy with the higher upside, but clearly Kraft has jumped with that opportunity and given this offense a different dimension. Yeah, he is really fun to watch, and I think the sky's the limit. He's just scratching the surface where he's going to be.
Now let's switch sides of the ball. We've talked a lot about the offense, and I'll let Charch do the traditional "why isn't Micah Parsons making a bigger impact" question a little bit later. But I want to talk about the defense and the turnovers. It was the calling card of this defense to get the ball back to the offense. Interceptions. We saw Xavier McKinney go on a 6-game interception streak to start last year. Not so much this year. I think they only have 2 turnovers or takeaways this year. So what can they do better, and why is that?
Yeah, it's crazy, because reading through training camp, it was such a focus for this defense is to continue to take the ball away. And remember, Green Bay's defense got so much better as the season went along last year. It finished in the top 10, but many said, well, it's the interceptions and the turnovers they got that really masked the deficiencies of the defense. So you figured there might be some regression. No team can keep that pace up like they had last year. But it's kind of been alarming that they just have the 2 interceptions, just 2 turnovers. They have not forced a fumble despite the focus on taking the ball away. I'm assuming those things come. You're going to get 3 or 4 in a game, and you're not going to think about it anymore. But it's odd, because it is something they focus on. They've got a lot of really talented playmakers. They put pressure on the quarterback. That usually leads to mistakes. The first 2 weeks they played, I guess 3 of the 4 weeks, they've played talented quarterbacks, right? Goff and Daniels and Dak, those guys know how to get rid of the ball quickly, and that was certainly Dak's focus a couple weeks ago. I can't really explain or put my finger on why it hasn't happened. I expect it to, but, otherwise, the defense, has been really strong so far throughout, the first 4 games. The big concern is the Devontae Wyatt injury, because when he went down second quarter against Dallas, the defense looked like a different unit in the second half. So they either have to go shopping for a defensive lineman. I think Wyatt's going to miss some time, or they're going to need someone to step up, because Cincinnati, they have not been able to run the football. They're going to try their best to do that with Wyatt out in the middle of that defense. Obviously, Kenny Clark is no longer there. Wyatt was off to a great start. Doesn't sound like it's long-term, but it's week to week. So that's where my concern is stopping the run, making sure they've got a guy in the middle that can allow those playmakers to do their thing.
All right, let's transition over to Micah Parsons. The pass rushing, I think, has been very good. 25 quarterback pressures so far, 3 sacks. The weird thing, 2 tackles. I don't know what, and I know they're using him situationally. He's not on the field every play, and maybe that's part of it. But you would still think, just being on the field and being Micah Parsons, you'd have more than 2 tackles. So give me your thoughts on what you've seen with Micah Parsons through this stage of the season so far.
Yeah, Charch, we haven't seen a lot of the big splash plays that make it on Sports Center, so that makes people wonder, like, well, is he impacting the game? Like, is he fitting in? What's the issue? But you said it at the beginning. He's second in the NFC with pressures, and he's played one less game than most people, most players, because they've had their bye week already, and he's on a snap count the first 3 weeks too. So, he's also getting used to his teammates, getting used to the scheme. I mean, all this stuff takes a little bit of time. As far as the tackles go, I mean, he's never been a tackling machine. He hasn't been on the field a lot the first few weeks in running down situations. So I'm not at all concerned about Micah Parsons and tackles. I haven't seen him miss a ton of tackles. I do see him getting double and triple teamed all the time, opening up opportunities for other guys and impacting the defense that way too. So he's getting after the quarterback. The sacks will come 3 through 4 games. Playing about 2/3 of the snaps. Those snaps are going to be ramped up. I'm excited to watch as the season goes on what he does in this defense. I don't think we'll have too many concerns about number one as things go on here, because you see his impact when he's on the field, and it dribbles off to the other guys. So, yeah, we'll watch the tackles. We'll see if it becomes an issue. It's not something that keeps me up at night. There are plenty of things I worry about with this team. That's not one of them. Like Jordan Love. Love and Parsons are 2 guys I'm not at all concerned about. They got 2 guys that are going to be cornerstones for this franchise for years. Some of the cracks inside they have to figure out.
Yeah, last one from me here. If I'm a Packer fan living in the Twin Cities and I feel like I'm waking up the day after a game and I just want to get my Packers fix, is there anywhere they could do that potentially?
Well, it's funny you should ask, because, the morning after every Packer game, we do a Packer review podcast. In fact, you do that with me. It's available on the iHeart app. You just click on Packer Preview, and you'll find our Packer Review podcast. And it's been a lot of fun, because I've never been able to, outside of the 5 or 10 minute border battle with PA or Charch or whoever's filling in, can't really react to Packer games. So we found a way to do that with the Packer Review podcast, which is available for sponsorship, I should add. And we're having a lot of fun doing it, and getting set to do it again with you on Monday morning following the Bengals game, my friend.
Yeah, Depends is using Emmitt Smith as their spokesman. Maybe Depends could come and be a sponsor for the Packer Review.
If the check's cash, that's
I'll take it. Whoever wants in, they're in. We'll take it.
No, I understand you're not picky. It just seems like that would be a natural sponsor to me. I mean, I think if my team lost tied to the Cowboys on national television, I think I'd want to soil myself. But that's just me. Dave Sinykin, thank you for your help. It was good catching up on the hated rivals, the Packers, and we'll listen to you tomorrow morning in the Zone.
Sounds good, Charch. Have a great weekend, bud.
Thanks a lot, my man. Dave Sinykin. When we come back, Brian Oak. We'll talk a little music, a little segue on a bye week here, and some mostly this will be about the only diversion from football that we'll end up having today. I want to talk about the Rush tour, 10 years since Neil Peart died, and they're going back on tour. I want to talk about the Led Zeppelin discography. What's our favorite song from every album? Local tie into a band that I just found called Wolfpack. I know some listeners know about this band, musicians, their story is nuts. And a local tie in there, we might talk about them as well. Brian Oak coming up with Paul Charch in moments.